Guys, take a look at that gorgeous roulade. This is a pork roll. It's a southwestern style pork roll. So what we're going to do is we're going to cook up a beautiful pork tenderloin in a way that you've probably never considered. Guys, we're going to be rolling up a beautiful pork tenderloin, and inside of it we're going to be putting some wonderful goodies. That's some poblanos, there's some cheese, the right spices, and then we're going to serve it up on a very, very special ham. Well, howdy folks, welcome to Texas Cooking Today. What you're watching here is a Texas Cooking Today tutorial. These are very in-depth videos on the techniques and methodology used to make any of my recipes. So anytime that you see one of my recipes that says tutorial, that's what this is. Now if you just want the recipe, you don't want the extra information, that's the previous episode, guys, so check that out if you would. This one is going to teach you everything you need to know about making this recipe. Now let's get on with it. Okay folks, here's our ingredients. We have some wonderful stuff to work with today. Here is a pork tenderloin. Now make sure that it's a tenderloin. We're not doing this with a loin. Tenderloin is the one that's about the diameter of your wrist. The pork loin is the one that's the diameter of your leg, okay? So it's a much bigger cut. We'll work on that one later. But today we're going to be doing this one with some cheddar cheese, chilies, salt, garlic, and this dried ham over here. And that dried ham happens to be prosciutto. It's a wonderful tasting ham. If you can get that, get it. Otherwise, get some other kind of dried ham. It'll work fine in this. Thin sliced, okay? It's for sandwich. So in this case, we're going to be using it in a roulade. Now a roulade, guys, what is that? That's a word that means a roll, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to make that meat flat. First by butterflying, and then by pounding, and we're going to turn it into this nice thin flat piece of meat. After that, we're going to line it with other ingredients, roll it up, truss it up, cook it up with smoke. It's going to be so good. Guys, if you haven't ever had a dish like this is one of these times you need to try it, and it's a fun dish to make. It involves all kinds of things that aren't just ordinary in the kitchen. Some wonderful techniques are going to be taught on this one. So let's get after it. Come on. It's time to scorch the skin off of these chilies so that I could get them sliced and ready to go inside of our roulade. Now the first thing I need to do is turn my burner on high, place my chilies directly on that heat. They're going to hear crackling noises, popping, and that is that skin blistering as it heats and scorches. The scorching on this will also give it something of a roasted flavor, and it's a good thing, guys. This adds character to the whole dish, but also the sharp flavors of that chili are going to be imparted throughout this pork roll. Don't worry about heat. Poblanos aren't hot, and especially not in a dish like this, and it really sets it apart as something truly special. The smell is so good. I'm going to scorch them all the way around, guys, then we're going to wash them off and get them sliced up. I have turned these one time and we're getting them nice and charred. I wanted to give you a good close-up view of that. See how that skin is charred? They're still popping, and they kind of move around sometimes when they do that. So just keep scorching that skin all the way around. Usually poblanos will have 3 sides, but sometimes they're a little more flat and they'll just have 2 sides and 2 edges. So either way, get them all the way around, and then we can clean off that skin. Folks, we have finished up with charring these chilies. Now I'm going to get them washed off and cleaned. I want to show you how I do one of those, and then from there we can slice them up. This is not difficult. All you have to do is have a nice sprayer. You can peel this off dry without water, but frankly, guys, when I'm looking to speed things up, this works fine. Some chefs will tell you you're washing off a lot of flavor when you do this, and yes, they're correct. You're washing off some of those oils that are on this that do give you a lot of flavor. peel off that crown. There it is with the seed pod. There's some other seeds inside. We'll just wash those out. There we go. This is ready at this point to be sliced. Let me show you something about getting the seeds and the crown off of this. When you have your whole chili like this, you can poke your finger in the side of it and pull down. It'll slide it open just like a knife, okay? Just poke in, there we go, pull down, look at that. Isn't that simple? And there inside is the seed pod in the top and our crown. So I'm just going to peel that meat back from the crown all the way around. There we go. Now this pod, don't pull down, snap it upward to get rid of it. And these veins on the inside, if you're going to pull on them, pull up, away from the way they travel. Otherwise it'll tear the meat open. Now that really doesn't matter in a case like this where we're just going to slice it, but in other cases it does matter. Now folks, let's go ahead and get these sliced. I like to cut them in half just to make them a little easier to handle. And then I want to make not perfect slices, but roughly 3/8 of an inch wide slices throughout all of these. Now when I say 3/8 of an inch wide, I'm talking about something like that, okay? There's several of them. They're not perfect, but they're going to be roughly in that width. I can take these, put them in a bowl, and now when I'm ready to make my roulade, I've got my poblano ready to go. It is time for us to go ahead and get this piece of meat ready to be turned into the beautiful roulade we're going to make it into. Now I have a couple of problems with this. Number one, it's a small piece of meat. Number two, the head meat has been partially cut open up here, as you can see. That right there. So that does sort of complicate things, but only slightly, all right? It's not a big problem. So what I want to do is I want to just kind of lay that back a little bit, and I'm going to slice into it this way, and I want to lay it open. And then from there I want to pound it out. I want to use a pan to do that with. And it's a really cool way to do this. Now guys, normally when I would cut this, I would cut it this way, so I'm cutting away from me. But for the benefit of the camera, I want you to be able to see it better. So I'm going to do it like this today. And I'm just going to take my knife and very gently kind of let it slide up in there, right through the center of it. I don't want to push my luck, okay? So I'm trying not to push into it hard. Okay, there we go. A nice little cut. I can open it just slightly deeper because I need it to be that cut. Where it is cut on the bottom side, I need it to be kind of flat with the rest of it. All right, there. Just once more, and I'm just letting the blade glide over the meat very softly. There we are. Now that's kind of opened up, but it's not flat. I need this much bigger so we can line it out. The next thing I want to do is to cover this meat with some simple plastic wrap. Okay, you can use foil for this. You don't even have to do this, guys. I simply do it to make it a little cleaner in my preparation. I'm taking a skillet, a small pan. Now on this, you want to make sure that if you're going to pound this out with a pan, you see this rounded edge on the bottom? You want it to have a nice curve like that. You don't want it to have a sharp edge, or it could cut into the meat some, okay? And so be careful as you do this. So what I'm going to do is just very simply, just like that. My cling wrap pulls up a little bit, not a problem. Isn't that simple, guys? Beautiful, easy. Okay folks, that meat is pounded out and it is ready to get lined out. I have a little breach in the meat here, you know, where there's some small holes. Not a big deal. We don't lose sleep over little things like that. Folks, let's go ahead and get our garlic ready for our roulade. I only need a couple of cloves for this. You can use 2 to 3 cloves, but I think about 1 to 2 is really more on the right order. Once you've pulled your cloves off of the main bulb, To remove that papery husk, the best way I know, give it a little flex, just like so, and watch that sucker come off. Isn't that neat? You don't have to make hard work of this, okay guys? And you don't have to flex it hard enough to break the meat, as you've seen. One other thing I like to do is I like to just remove that scab, mostly because I just don't like to find that stuff in my food when I'm eating. Next thing, to keep this stuff from bobbing around as I'm trying to mince it, I want to crush it, okay? Boom, once, twice. Now it's not going to move around on me as much. So when you're doing this, that real trick to that is all I'm doing is rocking that knife up and down. This hand is controlling the blade on the end, and the thumb is tucked under so I don't hurt it. Ain't that a neat way to mince up your garlic? As you can see, it doesn't take long to get a decent fine mince using this technique. Don't be afraid of doing it this way, guys. There it is. We have minced garlic, and I just leave it on my blade just like that until I'm ready to use it. It's time for us to get this lined out. Let's go ahead and hit it with a little bit of salt on the inside there. And we don't have to put down a heavy layer. Remember, we've got a thin piece of meat at this point. The other thing that we're going to need is our garlic. So I'm just going to put that on in a pile. And I'm going to work that in just like so. Rubbing the oils from the garlic into the meat throughout. There we are. Yes. All right. Isn't that neat? How easy. The next thing I need to do is just line this out with my other goodies. Now from there, we need to put some of these chilies on here. And the whole idea is I want chilies running kind of lengthwise, just like I have my meat. I don't want them overlapping or crisscrossing. Okay, now once I have this all lined out and looking pretty decent like I have it here, where I don't have too much overlapping going on, and everything's kind of nice and smooth and flat and even. That's what I'm looking for, a nice even palette, I guess you could say, if it were like a painting. Next thing I want, that's going to be my cheese. Like I said, we have a couple ounces of cheese there. We're not going to lose our minds getting cheese on this, okay? It doesn't have to be just a huge, thick volume. Next, we have to get this thing rolled up and tied up. Folks, it is time for us to get this rolled up and trussed up. Now, trussing is sort of an important thing to learn when it comes to cooking. Why is it important? Well, trussing allows you to cook a piece of meat without the meat changing shape. In this case, you don't want the meat to come unrolled, okay? So we need string to hold it rolled up and also to keep it from swelling in the middle or changing in other strange ways that we may not be able to predict. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to get this beautiful thing rolled up. Here we go. Just very gently. And I'm kind of lifting and pulling over as I do, like I'm pulling back with it. Okay, and those ingredients you're going to want to push out, so I'm just tucking them as I go. There we are. The ends we're going to kind of fold over in a little bit and deal with them in our own special little way. So don't worry if a little bit of our stuff falls out, guys. It's not a big deal. We don't lose sleep over little things like that. Okay, first thing I need to do, like I said, I want to take that end and kind of get it pulled over. So I'm going to take him and pull him over, and the first tie of my string is going to be around that to kind of hold it closed, okay? This one down here, we'll deal with it in just a little bit, okay? One thing at a time. We take our string, and when I tie this, I want some extra string hanging out, a little bit left over, okay? So on this end here, I want some extra string. And I want to wrap it around the other. Just tie it like I would my shoelace to begin with. And I want to do that twice. Now here's the thing of this, folks. You do not have to crank down on the string. It doesn't have to be super tight. This whole thing can be a little bit slightly loose, actually, because when it comes to trussing, it's going to maintain the shape of the string. The string won't stretch and it won't shrink as you cook. Now the neat thing here, I'm going to go ahead and pull off a whole lot of extra string, so I'll have enough. I'll need several feet. Okay, there we go. And I can always add more. I'm going to cut this off, boom, and just set this thing aside. So I have plenty of string to work with now. What we need to do, we take the end of our string, we pull the excess to the side here. So here's our knot, there's our loose end. We take this end, okay, just pull a little out, slide it underneath, all right? Get him out of my way. Now I'm going to take this string and I'm going to pass it over and through, okay? Just that simple. Just keep pulling it. I've got a lot there. All right, now that I've done that, see, I've kind of got this loose knot. I'm going to pull it back to get the excess string pulled where I need it, which is right here. Look at that, that's going to keep those vegetables from coming out and my string heads straight down. Now I'm going to do this repeatedly, okay? There we go. See how I brought it around the other way this time? It can go either way. You don't have to do it the same way each and every time, folks. This knot works from either direction. There we go. It's tangling on me a little. See there? So this time, instead of pulling it this way to take out the slack, I had to pull it that way to take out the slack because of the way I ran my knot. And I want to separate these by about an inch all the way down. And if you notice, I'm not cranking down on it. I'm not trying to make it super tight. Okay? I'll just roll it over it. So as you can see, this isn't something that takes just a monumental amount of skill to pull off, all right? Now if you notice, I'm getting a bit of a knot here. It's not a big deal, I'm just going to open it up. Once we get to this other end, you can come up from the other end to do the same knot, guys. See that? Isn't that neat? So I'm at the point now where I've got to decide, what am I going to do with this open end? Well, I think I need to do the exact same thing I did on the other end, which was to take this and kind of pull him over and run my string around it. And if, like I said, if something wants to force its way out, well, you just can't make it do what you want, or can you? There we go. Stick my string up under this again. Oops. I think I'm going to form my knot and then tuck that under it. Okay. And I kind of do this either way. It just depends on whichever works at the moment, folks. You may be thinking, you got too much string. Not really. You'll see what I want to do with it in a minute. Okay. I'll take him. Bring him up just like this. Now to keep that from opening up again, I'm going to take the string straight over and around, okay? So I'm going to rotate him over. So the bottom is now facing up. And I'm not going to go to this one, I'm going to go past it to this. And I'm going to wrap my string around that and pull it through. And I'll do it on each of those. As you can see, not a difficult task. Now what this does is it just kind of forms sort of like a little cage in essence, or a net, you might say. This forms a net that is going to hold this meat together in a special way. Now, you remember that little piece we left sticking out on the very first of it? Okay, well, guess what? We're about to meet up and deal with that. So here, we're done, okay, with that part of the trussing. I'm going to get this cheese out of my way. Next thing I want to do, I'm going to rotate him again. There was my original knot right here. I want to take the string from the back side. We're going to bring him over this end, and I'm going to tie it to my original knot, okay? Or I should say the string left over from my original knot. Tie it right there. So I closed both of the ends by flapping them over and controlled the whole thing. The next thing I'm going to run into is this is going to want to turn either this way or this way, and most likely this way. It's leading that direction. So what I need to do now, I'm going to go back up to where I brought this over. I'll take my string around that. And I want to do it twice. I want to go around that twice. And then I'm going to lead that string right back to the other end, the way I came to this end the first time. See, this is hanging open? Well, guess what? It's now going to kind of get pulled under. We're back to our starting point. So I've trussed it all the way around and on 4 sides. At this point, I have this string that's loose and left over. I can take him up through the top if I want to be really snazzy about this. So I'll go over this way and then bring the two together right on top. Here and here. If you want to pretty it up and cut off some of that loose veggie material, you can go ahead and do that. And that kind of looks a little more professional. There we go. Remove any excess cheese from the outside, and this is ready to go out and hit the grill. Now these loose strings, if I want, I can leave a couple of them just barely hanging to identify a spot to cut loose and then start cutting this up later. Because remember, I have to cut it out of the same net that we netted it up in, right? Folks, it's now time for us to get this on the grill, but before we can do so, I want to hit it with a little bit of olive oil. The idea here is I want just a slight oily coating on the outside of that meat, and the idea there is to increase the amount of time that I have to cook this without losing moisture. I'm retaining moisture in my meat by doing this. So this gives it a coating that helps maintain what we have inside the meat in the way of moisture. Isn't that cool? There we go. Now that that's ready, I can get it on that grill. Here we are, folks. Now I have gone ahead, I've pre-filled this with my wood. Now this is some mesquite wood, and it's great for doing short smoking like this. On my grill, that will fit underneath, and I like to do it there. So I'm going to fire this up. Now what I'm going to do, folks, is I'm going to bring the temperature up on this until I get smoking off of my smoker's tray. At that point, my grates are going to be hot enough for a good sear, and I can get that thing on here and get it cooking up the right way. Okay, folks, I have good smoke. I can get this out here. I'm going to put that with the seam side down so I can cook it with the cheese on the bottom first, and then that way it's in an up position from then on. Get less dripping out that way. At this point, I've got to give it about 5 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes per side to get good charring, and it will be beautiful in about 20 minutes. All right, folks, let's give him a turn. Might be stuck a little bit. Looky there. Ain't that gorgeous? And that's just the start. Let it keep smoking and cooking. This is going to take a little while, guys, so don't be in a big rush on it. You're probably looking at around 25-minute cook on this. And I'm using a medium heat, but I'm cooking closed lid with smoke, so that does intensify it. Now, folks, this has been on here for about 20 minutes. So what I want to do at this point is I want to take my chef's thermometer and I want to plunge that right down into the core. Okay, and I'm getting a reading of 170. Okay, that means that sucker is ready to go. I can pull it off the grill. We're going to let it rest, and then we're going to slice it up. Now that resting is real important. Give it plenty of rest time. Isn't that beautiful? Well, folks, we're in from the grill. I'm going to take a piece of foil. And I don't have to wrap it tight. I just need to tint it over the top. And that way, it's going to finish resting. I want it to hold in some of that heat. It finishes its cook this way, it finishes resting this way, and in a little bit, that's going to be ready to enjoy. Now guys, I have given this some time to rest, and what I want to do now is to cut free this trussing that I've done. So what I want to do is do that, and I'm going to cut it again right here at the top, because there's a couple of these strings that are converging. When you're cutting one of these free, you kind of got to go down and cut each of these side pieces loose. Okay, so you just take one of those vertical strings and trace them down one at a time. Okay, and it'll take you right to the next one each and every time. Just finish unrolling that, and it comes right off of there, guys. There we go. We have that fully unrolled. I'm going to put that seam back down to the bottom again. Guys, look at that beautiful, beautiful piece of meat. We've had it cooking out there. Let me cut this open. I'm going to cut it kind of at a nice angle here. There we go. Let me pull that back again. Oh yeah. Now look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? We have everything going for it. Heck yeah. Now I just need a plate fixed up to get that on. Now folks, what we've used today has really been simple. This is one pork tenderloin, a couple of ounces of shredded cheese, and any cheese will do fine for this. A couple of chilies, good sized ones. Any kind of chilies will work for this. You want to equal about the amount that I had with this, and that's enough to cover it as open strips across the meat. Some salt, a little bit of garlic, not much, just a little, and also the beautiful dried ham. Guys, that is a wonderful prosciutto ham, and this is the stuff that can make other dishes taste so wonderful. It's also delicious by itself. There you have it. Don't forget, you're going to need a little bit of string, some cooking string, because if you don't truss it, it's not going to work. You need your fire and a little bit of smoke, and folks, it is absolutely fantastic. Guys, this is so good. You know, chilies and pork, I like those together. They're really good. It's not hot, not spicy, but it is robust in flavor. It's smoky, delicious. A little hint of garlic in the background, just enough salt, smoky flavor. The flavor of a grilled pork chop mixed up with other wonderful special goodies like chilies and cheese. Guys, that is good flavor right there. It's a dish you must try. I would like to say thanks very much for watching, folks. Thank you for watching this episode. If you would, please subscribe. Click the like button. That really helps me out. If you have any suggestions or questions or anything like that, just put them down below. And I appreciate you watching, folks. You have a good day. Bye-bye. Oh, yeah. Well, there it was, guys. Did that answer all of your questions on how to make that recipe? I certainly hope so. Hey, if you have any requests or questions or comments or anything like that, feel free to drop them in the boxes down below. I do appreciate that, and I read those, believe it or not. Thank you for watching Texas Cooking Today. Folks, please share my videos. And again, thank you very much for watching Texas Cooking Today.